Hi, welcome to a new feature on the channel where I give another shot to an Adrien Brody movie I maybe didn't care for very much the first time or didn't quite understand it the first time. So we're going to start with 6 Ways to Sunday. I had been making some shorts featuring clips from this film, and it just sort of gave me the desire to give it another try. So here we are. 6 Ways to Sunday was released in many areas in 1997, but it didn't come to the US until the fall of 1998. It was directed by Adam Bernstein, who also adapted the screenplay with Mark Gerald. It's based on a book called Portrait of a Young Man Drowning by Charles Perry. The runtime is only an hour and 37 minutes, so you don't have to devote a whole day to watching it. 6 Ways to Sunday is rated R, and it very much earns that rating, if not pushes it a little bit. It is disturbing. It has a lot of subject matter that is very, very adult. So brace yourself if you're not used to that kind of stuff. If you're someone who watches movies by like the Coen brothers or Quentin Tarantino, you'll probably be able to handle this. And if you don't care for those movies, you might struggle with this one a little bit. It's a lot. It's a lot. I would not recommend watching this with the whole family. You might want to do a solo watch on this one. 6 Ways to Sunday is currently streaming on both Tubi and Amazon Prime Video, so if you want to check it out, you can do so there. The DVDs are also floating around online, eBay and stuff, so take a look. 6 Ways to Sunday stars Norman Reedus, who you may know from The Walking Dead and Boondock Saints. Also Deborah Harry from Blondie and Hairspray, the original. Adrien Brody, that's why we're here. It also features Elena Lovenson, Peter Apple, Holter Graham, Jerry Adler, Isaac Hayes, and Clark Gregg. There's also a brief appearance by Vincent Pastore, which is kind of a nice touch. So the main character, Harry Odom, played by Norman Reedus, is under the ever-watchful eye of his mother. He can't do anything without her approval, without her supervision. She still bathes him. She controls the electricity he uses. She monitors what books he reads. So he's in a very controlling environment, and he's very stifled, very repressed. Now, Harry's best friend, Arnie, played by Adrien Brody, is kind of an American version of Ali G that Sacha Baron Cohen used to play, except this was before that. So yeah, he's like a wannabe big city urban gangster, but he's really kind of a small-time assistant with the Jewish mob in the Ohio suburbs. So Arnie has been charged with the task to go rough somebody up to get them to pay his boss. And Harry tags along with him a little bit reluctantly. They're going to a strip club to find this man, and Harry is very uncomfortable going in there because of the aforementioned repression. While watching Arnie work over this guy, Harry becomes excited. Based on the imagery we're shown, it's almost a sexual thing. I think it's the violence coupled with being in a strip club, and he kind of starts connecting the two in his mind. So he attacks the man and gives him more of a severe beating than the boss had even asked for. And so Arnie kind of freaks out, drags him out of there before he kills the guy. I think Harry kind of decides that this is what he wants to do. This is his calling in life. So he has a meeting with Arnie's boss named Mr. Pinkwise, played by Peter Apple. And almost immediately, he takes Harry under his wing and kind of demotes Arnie. In fact, during the meeting, he sends Arnie out to go rub down his car with a rag. So at what point Arnie decides to kind of prove himself by robbing a liquor store, it doesn't go so well. So during the time that Arnie is away in jail upstate, Harry becomes muscle for the Jewish mob, even though he himself is a Gentile. His reputation grows as kind of a tough guy. His list of victims grows. His tension with his mother kind of grows. Everything starts to build up. And along the way, he develops an alter ego that he calls Madden, who's played by Holter Graham. By channeling this character, Madden, Harry has more confidence, and it gets to the point where he can't really do his job or his intimate life without adopting the Madden character. Now, Harry doesn't initially realize that Madden is not a real person. He thinks that he's a guy who's responsible for all the things he's being blamed for. So it takes a while before the reality sets in. As Harry rises in the ranks, he becomes more acquainted with the local mob boss named Louis Varga, who's played by Jerry Adler. When he first goes to Varga's home, Harry also meets Iris, who is Varga's housekeeper. Iris is very timid and charming, and she comes from Hungary. The actress, Elena Lovenson, comes from Romania, but I think she nailed the Hungarian accent pretty well. There's an uncomfortable scene where Madden assaults Iris. So Iris is terrified after this encounter and quits her job. So Mr. Varga encourages Harry to make nice with Iris. So Harry apologizes and asks Iris out on a date. And it's the most awkward first date you've ever seen. So when Arnie returns home from his trip upstate, he asks Harry to get him back in the good graces of Mr. Pinkwise, who he used to work for. So basically, Harry arranges for Arnie to drive the getaway car after he and Mr. Pinkwise do a job. While Harry and Mr. Pinkwise are in the building, Arnie is in the car and he ends up freaking out and he takes off and strands them there. As you may have guessed, that doesn't go so well for Arnie and he is killed. So Harry continues to be controlled by Madden, and eventually he realizes that Madden is not real and he's a part of his identity. And we see Harry running down the street and Madden running down the street, and it goes from one to the other, and then it shows them kind of morphing into one. And I think that's either a symbol of Harry and him becoming permanently one, or it's symbolic of him no longer needing Madden. I'm not sure which. Now, without spelling it out completely, because we have to be careful what we say on YouTube, there is a very disturbing thing that takes place near the end of this film that is very hard to come back from, let's say. And it leads Harry to kind of break. So even though the film ends on something of a happy note, there's still a sense that Harry is not well. So it's kind of an ambiguous ending. Given how puzzled the audience is for most of this film, having an ambiguous ending kind of seems right, though. As I said, this movie is a strange one. So there's a lot of dark themes, a lot of violence, a lot of disturbing sexuality. There is some humor, mostly provided by Adrien's character, Arnie. There is some very dark humor as well. But if you are a fan of any of the main actors like Norman Reedus or Deborah Harry, who's very good here, she also has some of her music featured. So if you're a fan of hers, you will probably want to have this one in your watched column. Now, I did enjoy this film more than I did my first go around. And I actually changed my star rating on Letterboxd. I had initially given this 1.5 stars, apparently. And so when I rewatched it, now it's at 2.5 stars. So it redeemed itself somewhat. So that was our first episode of Redemption Rewatch, and I hope you enjoy this new idea. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Take care.